Welcome to the Maidenless podcast,
where we discuss characters, creatures, and themes from everybody's favorite video game,
Elden Ring. And today, we'll be discussing the start of our journey as a Tarnished in the lands between, exploring the area of West Limgrave. We're here to talk about Elden Ring. Woo! I'm Alex.
I'm Drew.
Yay, and we just watched the opening cinematic of Elden Ring. What did you think, Drew?
Well, it was the first time since I started playing the game back in February that I watched it again. And there were some little nuggets that I had not noticed the first time around. It was also way funnier the second time. There's certain voice actors in that game that really did too much almost, and I love them for it, and that was one of them. I love his delivery of that whole thing.
I feel that there's a rich history of FromSoftware voice actors giving just so much.
Oh yes, from DS1's just the guy who moans for your character when he gets, you know what I'm talking about? Every time that you get hit or die, and the character just goes, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, the character sounds.
Yep. Oh my, that's yes. Some of my favorite stuff.
Indeed. Okay, so opening cinematic. Yeah, so it starts off. I don't even remember how it opens. It's with the hammer, right?
Yep,
so we
it's
got
the hammer.
And then I don't know. I wrote down a couple notes on the opening cinematic. What were some things that stuck out to you?
This time around, because I don't know if I was paying so much attention the very first time. I was just sort of like, oh, finally, I've been waiting for this to come out. So it was almost like not giving it the gravitas I needed to. One of the things I never realized was that they make such a big deal about fog in this one, because I remember fog being in Demon Souls and Dark Souls and stuff, the fog being this great separator of the kingdom that all the non-cursed people are from. Yes. And so it's one of those things that puts that little harebrained conspiracy theory in my mind of, is this attached to that world? Are they related to each other? Because I feel like fog doesn't play that big of a role in the gameplay. I mean, we still get the golden fog walls and stuff, but it's not really mentioned much.
No, I always thought that was kind of just a way for them to, and maybe this is me just generalizing too much, but I always thought it was a way for them to just kind of sever ties with reality.
Oh, sure.
To be because in this one, a lot of people have talked about the connections to Norse mythology and how a lot of times, it's a great fog that connects kind of the world of the gods from the world of the mortals.
Okay. Yeah.
So I always kind of thought of it as a way to say that, this isn't connected to real life at all, and just the fantasy, what do you call, framing device.
Sure. Yeah. I kind of put that together with the dragons and stuff, that it was not attached to reality, but I might be operating on a different kind of wavelength. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, the hollows when you first get to the,
Yep.
We don't have those either.
No, we don't.
But fair enough. So the one thing that stuck in my brain, stuck to me, Margit and Radon, which I didn't see the first time around, because I'm like, who's that old man with a stick? Is he hitting a lion? What's going on? Moog and Mikola, didn't notice that the first time around. And that's such a beautiful painting too, or whatever the medium is, that I don't think my brain really took it in the first time I saw it. And that's one that I've looked at a lot, because I don't know, I like those two characters there. I think it's very interesting. But anyways, the beauty of the artwork there didn't really hit me, because it's just kind of like a big dark side of the frame and a tiny little white side of the frame, and your just brain kind of glosses over because there's all this epic imagery. But that one stuck out to me this time.
Oddly, I always felt like, and I'm fine with this just being me, I always felt like the most like intriguing visual from that is still the loathsome dung eater getting hung. I don't know why that's so interesting to me. It's easily the creepiest one. It's the one that in my initial playthrough brought the most questions to my mind as well. I was like, I gotta meet this guy and figure out what his deal is. And in true FromSoftware fashion, I did meet the guy and still have no idea what his deal is.
Have you watched any of the... I can't remember what the guy's name is. He has like I think he's from New Zealand.
Okay.
But he does these... I'll link this if I release this. But he does these videos like, what's the deal with the Weeping Peninsula?
Oh, okay.
What's the deal with the loathsome dung eater? He just does a very humorous take
Okay, sweet. I'll
on the
definitely
lore.
watch that.
The other thing was the Christian symbolism.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, with America, like the first time we see her, she's in like the crucifixion pose.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very interesting. And as someone who was raised in a Christian household, sometimes that stuff kind of just washes over my brain. Like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And I have to always remind myself that this is a Japanese studio and that Christianity is very new as compared to like, or maybe not new, but like not as accepted in their society
it's not prevalent
as a big, with the huge religion that it is in America. And so as an American raised in a Christian household, when I first saw that cinematic, I was just like,
yep.
And now I watch it back and I'm like, after playing the game, and it's like, oh, all the obvious Christian symbolism in the game.
It's weird. Like, I mean, I grew up in a Christian household. I still live in a Christian household. I'm a Christian, but that sort of like, it's always the like hanging up type of T pose.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, what my brain always associates that with is watching like the Olympics. The like rings. That's always the first thing that pops in my head. Weirdly, because it should probably be the crucifixion that pops into my mind, but it's always like, oh yeah, it's the rings. Which is admittedly a dumb thing to have pop into my head, but.
Well, and just one more thing on that before we completely go down this rabbit hole is I do think it's interesting that maybe it didn't quite hit my brain too, is because it wasn't a standard T-pose. And we see a lot of the live, laugh, love stuff with like, the background of like the more Celtic style crosses that are very straight. And this has got that kind of rounded top on it, which
it's a Y pose.
Is more natural if someone was crucified. They're not held in the middle, so they're going to sag, right? So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is.
But the other thing before we go, I love Fia. I have to shout out Fia because I didn't even know who she was in the first time, and Fia's quest is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a cool quest. It's interesting watching it this time around too. Like, I'm trying to gauge kind of like who the game holds significant, who the writers of the game held to be significant characters, because I definitely like went a weird route with meeting all the NPCs and whatnot, and so it's just like always a little odd to me, like, okay, who are the actual like main characters in this game? And I know that's always a big question in FromSoft, but it seems like Gideon, I think I just wasn't paying attention enough the first time I played through, and I was like, oh, it's just some like annoying guy, but he's like on par with like Horalu, it looks like, and Fia's somehow up there. Yeah. And so it's making me like reevaluate like what is the significance of every person.
Yeah.
And then realizing just now that we're that weird dead guy that shows up at the very beginning. Like, I don't know what I was doing when I was playing it the first time, but like I did not make any of those connections. Like, I'm one of those characters.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it makes me wonder like, what the heck were we doing when we died? Because it assumes that Horalu came back to life, right?
Yeah.
And that Fia came back to life, and that Gideon. So, and they were all doing their things, like their separate things. Like, how'd we die?
Well, it did say a tarnished of no renown.
Right.
So maybe it was very embarrassing. That's why they didn't include it.
I hope so.
Like, slipped, fell on own sword, or or like had a bathroom accident. They're very common.
Yeah, I suppose so.
fell, cracked the head on the toilet or something,
The other question I had, and maybe you can clear this up, was so the shattering happened after the ring was broken. According to that, like the shattering was when all of the kids who hated each other started fighting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that the shattering was when the ring was broken. I thought that's what everybody always referred to, but they're separate incidents.
Yes. Well, I think the implication is that like the war was because they said triggered. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting that the shattering, because they call the war the shattering, but then there's also the shattering of the Elden Ring, mm-hmm. and I think they're meant to draw a parallel between one another.
Okay.
But I think it's interesting that they blame the shattering on America, but then they blame the war, the shattering, on the mad taint of their newfound strength. I like that quote.
Yeah. That's just there's always funny ways that they word these things. I don't know. That one's particularly goofy to me, but yeah.
Very angry taint.
Right. Inflamed, perhaps.
Oh, no. No wonder they went to war.
Yes. Oh, man. It's probably Scarlet Rot.
Oh, God.
Later. We'll get into that stuff later, I guess. But yeah, man. I guess I also it's weird that Ronnie's the only one of the kids that you even get to really like talk to. I mean, you sort of get to hear from goodness, why can't I remember her name? Everyone has such similar names. The Blade of Mikola.
Melania.
Yes, Melania, thank you. Like, you get to hear her tell you over and over and over, I am Melania, Blade of Mikola, like, every time you die. But, like, Ronnie's the only one that you kind of get to, like, dialogue with.
Indeed.
And so it's weird because because of that, I don't ever think of her as being one of... Yeah. She's not Radon. She's not, like...
She also isn't enormous.
Right. That, like, yeah.
We get to talk to Morgott a bunch, mm-hmm. but he's also huge and scary, and Radon grunts at us a bit. He's huge and scary. And Ronnie's just kind of your size. Yeah. A little scary, but...
Runt of the litter, I suppose.
I guess. Well, she has intelligence.
Although we never really meet her, do we?
Well, not her
physical form, right? We see a husk of it upstairs, but yeah.
We were getting way ahead of
Sorry
ourselves.
about that. Sorry. Just all the questions.
I had one more note on the opening cinematic is that I love the place where like the burial chamber for the Tarnished, where they have like the censure or whatever, and they're like doing the smoke. It always reminded me of first time I saw it reminded me of Moria. Like the dwarves' tomb, the tomb of Balin, I believe is what it's called. That set from The Lord of the Rings. And then the other thing it reminded me of is the Bloodborne Chalice dungeons, which...
I haven't got to play Bloodborne yet.
I know you haven't.
I downloaded it. I'm very excied to, but I have not played it yet.
Oh, you downloaded it?
I did. It was free, so I was like,
nice.
Yeah.
Score on PS5?
Yep, on PS5. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
But so we're going to talk about the beginning of Elden Ring and the first area, West Limgrave, today. And so when we start out Elden Ring, we see that opening cinematic, and we have 10 classes we can choose from. I guess we choose our class before the cinematic, right?
I believe that is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So the 10 classes are Hero,
Bandit,
Astrologer,
Warrior,
Prisoner,
Confessor,
Rich,
Vagabond,
Prophet,
and Samurai.
Nice.
Yes.
So, Drew, what class did you choose on your Elden Ring adventure the first time?
I chose the Wretch. And that is because in every Dark Souls, whatever, FromSoft game that I have played up to that point, I have been a deprived. And I don't know why. I mean, I know that part of it is the very first time I played Dark Souls 1, I accidentally I deliberately went with the thief.
Sneaky.
Yes, very sneaky. I grabbed the wrong starting gift, or the right one, depending on how you like to play. Wound up in Blighttown a little bit too early, the back way. And ever since then, I have been like, you know what? I'm going to keep it simple. We're going to start out just a piece of wood and a loincloth. and figure out the game that way. It seems authentic to me. I don't know. That's why.
That's wild. I've never heard that story from you before.
How about you? What did you start? What did you start with?
I started with the Confessor, just because they looked really cool.
That's a good reason. I like that.
I thought they had the coolest starting gear.
Sure.
And I thought So the other thing that we should probably talk about is Dark Souls 2. Did you ever hear that term tossed around?
I have heard that a lot. Yes.
Okay. So I took that very seriously the first time I
Scholar
started
of the second sin.
Right? So I was like, broadsword, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on. The broadsword is OP. And so not so much in this game.
No.
I mean, depending on how you play, but yeah. Anyways, okay, so then we watch our opening cinematic and we end up in the Chapel of Anticipation. Square room, there's a dead person in the corner and a lot of messages that say praise the jumping.
Mm-hmm.
So we all jumped.
Oh yeah, and I tore through every piece of furniture in that whole room.
Like Link in a room full of pots.
Exactly, with even less incentive to do it. You don't get rewards, but man, it's a satisfying animation.
I was about to say, it is its own reward.
Yes.
I would say. The sound. Mm-hmm. So Chapel of Anticipation, we open the door and we see a lovely, beautiful architecture with a color palette of grays, blues, some gold, moss, and grass growing on things, lots of storm clouds. We make our way down some scaffolding and some stairs to a big pavilion where we see the first boss of the game, the Grafted Scion, the infamous FromSoftware tutorial boss.
Mm-hmm. And I died to that thing quick.
Yes.
As with every one of their bosses.
What did you think of the design of the boss, the Grafted Scion?
It creeped me out to no end. I have a certain threshold of arms that I can handle, and after 2, it gets to be a little bit more than I like. And that thing definitely had more than 2 arms. His swords were fun. His shield was very fun. I would have loved to have looted those from his corpse, but alas, no.
Yeah, I was going to talk about it. Upon victory, I mean, I died to the Grafted Scion very quick. I actually had a heal, too, because you don't have any heals for that fight at the beginning, because you don't have your Crimson Tears yet. So I actually had heals as the Confessor, but I didn't, again, I was like you, paralyzed by fear, and I didn't think to use it, so I died pretty quickly. But yeah, upon victory, you get his swords. I don't remember the actual title of those swords.
I think it's the ornamental... Is it
straight
the ornamental
swords?
Straight Swords?
There you go. I think we got it. And then the Bear Crest Shield.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever use any of those?
So, part of the other reason that I go for Deprived / Wretch every time is because you start out with like 10 on everything. Is that the same in this game? Is it
yes.
10 on everything? Yeah. And you start out as a level 1, so you can, level up to like pretty useful stats pretty quick. And so I definitely play through trying as many different things as possible. Okay. So my first playthrough on any of those games takes forever.
Yeah.
Because I want to find every item that I can. I want to see what all the attack animations are like. Are there weapons that aren't maybe effective but super fun to use? That sort of thing. And one of the many builds that I've morphed my guy, his name is Bonk. I morphed Bonk into over this last year, almost year of playing, used that shield for aesthetics.
Mm-hmm. It is very pretty.
It's very pretty.
I forget what is actually on it.
It's just a bunch of like
bear.
Golden designs and things like that. I couldn't picture the specifics of it. I just was like, shiny, big.
I think I'm thinking of like Patches has a very interesting shield in this game, and I think I'm thinking of that one. But anyways, upon defeat, then we weirdly enough, what freaked me out, because every other Dark Souls FromSoftware game that I've played, when you die to the tutorial boss, you always get, you talked about the
oh yeah,
and then you get the you died, and then the dark, and then it fades out. This one just was like black screen.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird and jarring.
Yeah.
But
with any new game too, it was a new console. I got a PS5 specifically for this game.
Yeah.
And it was a new console, new game. And when that happened, my heart sank. And I was like, oh no, either the game crashed, which isn't the worst, but it can be very annoying and brought me flashbacks to Oblivion days where the game crashes and then all of a sudden everything you've ever done is corrupted and you have to go get like a GED and stuff. It's horrible. Yikes. And then, so it was that, or, oh no, like I somehow broke my PS5 right away.
Yikes.
Yeah, they know how to make you panic.
So that was weird. I thought that was kind of strange. But then it goes to another cinematic of we see Melina and Torrent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That was kind of cool. I forget exactly what she says there.
Something to Torrent.
Yeah, she talks to the horse, which is cool. But yeah, basically says something like one of their kind is sure to... I love... You talked about the voice actors earlier. And I don't know if people will have heard that at this point or not, but... they always go for it. And like even Melina, who is a very subdued like voice, you know, she kind of has a soft voice, a little bit breathy. She was like, seek the Elden Ring. That's when I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Elden that's the name of this game.
Yeah. And there's other characters that do that too.
Yes.
It's like anytime they say Elden Ring, it's the Elden Ring. Okay, but anyway, so then we pop up in the actual tutorial area, and that's the area you mentioned. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, little dank cave with a little hole in the ground. Now, when I played it, I think it was before they had done the update that made that optional, because I believe there was like a pretty early patch that like...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think like, because I got it like day one.
Yeah, so did I.
I think day one it was not an optional area to go through. Like you couldn't just go left and up the stairs and out the door. And so I went down there and fought the hardest boss in all of FromSoftware history.
Pop-ups? Tutorial pop-ups?
Yes. Oh, they get me every time.
Oh, yeah.
No, the guy who I've seen affectionately referred to as Rick, Soldier of God.
Yes.
The Soldier of God, Rick.
Soldier of God, Rick. Yeah. So I've heard some people say that they completely missed the tutorial area.
Oh, man, that's a shame.
Yeah, I did it because I talked to the little ghost man. And he says, take the plunge. And I wanted him to say, take the plunge, you won't die.
Yes.
But he didn't. But I did take the plunge, and I was going to just say, like, you know, it's interesting. This is the first game where I feel like they have done the tutorial pop-up, like, tell you how to play their game.
Yep.
Because before, there's, like, a thing like R1 attack.
Yeah. You could, like, open up the little messages on the ground.
Messages on the ground.
They're like, no, you need to know this.
Yeah, you need to know this. Which people have complained about, but I didn't think it was too bad. No. You can actually turn them off. I started a new game the other day and I turned them off.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you can turn them off.
There are many things I have not done in that game.
So the first enemy you meet are the kind of hollowed nobles. And I thought they were kind of cool, you know, pretty easy to take out.
Oh, yeah.
And then we start to see the soldiers of Godric. Because you're immediately in, like, you talked about the cave, and then it opens up into, like, this little, like, wood, like a lush green area. And there's one of the soldiers up on the ridge, like, shooting a ballista at you, or a crossbow. Yep. And then we start to fight a few soldiers, and then we have the actual boss fight with the listed boss. The other thing that is new to this game from other Souls game are the Stakes of Marika.
Yes, indeed.
What do you think of the Stakes of Marika throughout the game?
So, because of my unorthodox methodology when playing these games, I did not understand the point. And
okay.
I would activate them. Stake of Marika is where you respawn there.
Yeah,
right?
that's where you respawn.
So that I didn't know what was doing that.
Ah, okay.
I didn't understand. I must have just skipped whatever the pop-up was for it. You know, not really read stuff. I was like, I figured this out. And so I was like, why am I here? And so yeah, that was a fun surprise. It took me until I think the second Erd Tree Guardian that I fought to realize that there was an actual thing that made you. Yeah. Because I'd see a little icon appear in the upper left too, and I was like, "What is that? Am I cursed? Do I have some sort of power up that I didn't know about? Like, an item that I used? No, Stake America."
there's just a ton of like, that's another thing we can get into is all of the buff and debuff symbols.
Man.
They're very confusing. Yeah, so Sake of America, I think they're a great addition to the franchise in general because I didn't like doing boss runs.
Yes.
It just felt like you were being like slapped on the wrist.
Yeah.
Like you messed up. Now think about what you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, I heard that if you die in Minnesota that you that you respawn at the Mall of America.
Oh no, I knew that one was coming.
Yeah. Oh,
could do nothing to stop it.
Yeah, it's great not to have to do boss runs though. There's still a couple. I think there's still a few bosses that you kind of have to like suffer a little bit to get back there. I'm trying to remember who the one was that I just spent a really long time trying to it's way later, but there's a cave boss. We'll get to it someday. Okay. There's one where the boss run for that is you basically have to go through the whole cave over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's the like the
Spoilers.
Invisible. Yeah, spoilers. There's an invisible snail that you have to fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's the worst. I hate that cave so much. But anyway.
Anywho, back on track. Oh yeah, first grace.
Yes.
So we get our first grace.
Bonfire.
Yes. I've been brainwashed now. I used to call them bonfires, and now I call them graces.
Nice. So you do.
The branding has worked, I guess. I still call them souls, though. I don't really call them
I know.
runes.
I call them souls as well.
But what do you think of grace versus bonfire design, functionality?
I think it was necessary change if they didn't want us to think that this was Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
/ Dark Souls 4. Like, it had to be something.
Yeah.
But what I respect about them is that they still, like, keep so many themes, like, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, they've got such a strong identity now. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for, spoilers, Armored Core. To figure out, you know, what they're going to do there. If they're going to keep it like similar, because I know there's a big history of those games, which I haven't done much research
I'm very
into.
ignorant
But
too.
I kind of want to see a giant mech suit pop down at a bonfire a little bit. But no, I like the Sights of Grace. I like that they're actually like brighter. I don't remember like bonfires actually being all that like bright. Mm-hmm. And so it does add to the like, oh, there one is. Thank goodness. Like that hopefulness and the relief. And
I do like the little rays that point you in the direction. I thought that was a cool way to kind of be a little bit, because, you know, the open world is very different than the very structured encounters of the last games.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was nice to just be like, hey, we know you're on your own little adventure, but if you want to stick to the plot, it's over here.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So then,
question for you about this area.
Yes.
Because I know the way that they design it, a lot of these times they like want you to come back, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times I don't want to come back if I can get stuff done right away.
Yes.
Now, I think, if I remember correctly, in the little like gifts or whatever trinkets that you can select at the beginning, you can select the stone dagger things.
Stone sword key,
yeah,
yes.
Stone sword key, yep. Did you do that? And did you go down there?
Not. No.
I
not the first
did.
Time.
That was the first thing I did
in
the game.
Gosh. No.
I saw a secret area and I was like, good. This must be like this early reward. Well, it was that initial, like, there's a fog wall, and it was a gray fog wall, which is what I'm used to. And so I was like, there's a boss back here. It's early on in the game, so there's a gamble where it's like, this could be just an early, you know, an early run that I could do for runes, I suppose. Souls in my mind, but runes. Or this might be a part of the game where they expect me to come back later and revisit it. And to that I say, screw that, let's do it now. So I unlocked the thing, ran into the little poison pool there.
The little troll from the developers. Here's one right off the bat.
And then immediately met the chariot and worked my way down there, only to find that there was a boss that I was not equipped to fight at the very bottom. So through stubbornness, I got myself kind of stuck, and then through stubbornness, I persisted. Fought him probably 20 some times before I kind of figured out how to like beat him down to stagger him and then go in for a critical. It took me forever to figure out what was going on with the critical too, because it was the ulcerated tree spirit. They're so big.
Where do you crit them? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's so big. I was always behind it whenever it would fall over, and then I would like go, well, it fell over. Like, I have to be able to crit this thing, and it wasn't until like pretty far into my attempts that I realized where his head was, and then it's that weird glowing orange spot on the side of the head. I wasn't used to them helping like that.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it was a very confusing visual fight. But
well,
I got
on some
it.
of the bosses, I feel like they have to help you because they are so oddly shaped.
Yes. I still am not 100% sure I know what the ulcerated tree spirits really look like. You know?
Like a big flying slug in my brain.
Yeah. I know what their mouths look like. I'm very well acquainted with the mouths.
Yeah. So you beat the ulcerated tree spirit after several attempts and got the golden seed. And did you also get the dragon communion seal? That's another thing I remembered was down there.
Oh. You know, there's a large amount of items that I like maybe looked away for a second when I got them, and then when I would go through my inventory, I'd go, "What the heck does that do?"
There's so many things.
There's so many things, and so even now there's stuff like I had never used one of the spoilers, but one of the goodness, what do you call them? The arcs, the rune arcs.
Oh, rune arcs.
I only used my first rune arc maybe a month ago because I didn't know what they were. And so I kept getting them for like helping people and stuff. I'd get these things and I'm like, what does this do? And then I never could figure it out. And it seemed like using them didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, long way down the road too from talking
you're
about.
not going to get a great rune for a while.
Right. And even when I got great runes, I didn't know what to do with those either. I thought when when you cash them in for the sweet gear, I thought that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And then I just never revisited. So I think with the like dragon communion thing, I had no idea I had it. I'm still not even sure I've used it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a sacred seal that boosts the dragon incantations, which I guess we'll get to.
Okay, yeah.
So we emerge from that little area, your real tutorial area, and then we get out to the second grace where we are greeted by quite the view. This second time I took it in a little bit more. I guess not second time, but this time when I was looking at the beginning of the game with more of a critical eye to talk about it, I noticed that from I don't know if it's from the what is it called, the Fringe Folks Heroes Grave where you emerge. I don't know if you can see everything from there, but I looked from the next church where we're going to be, so I assume that you can see everything from the beginning. But I saw the Chapel of Anticipation where we started to the left. Then you see Stormvale Castle. Then you see the Erd Tree, and I definitely didn't catch this the first time, but you can actually see the Forge of the Giants.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
And I came back with the telescope after I bought it just to make sure, and you can definitely see the Forge of the Giants, the big bowl.
Oh, so, dude, that's sweet.
Yeah, so right from the beginning, they show you every place where you're supposed to go, and then we have our first like real NPC that we can talk to and interact with, which is Vare.
Vare, the greatest NPC of all time. Love him.
Yeah, he has quite the voice.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, that voice actor should win every award that you possibly can. He's so creepy, so intriguing, so like spiteful in his delivery of every line. Like he hates you. And I figured out why. We won't go into those spoilers right now, but like I could not for the life of me understand what I did wrong to this man. I was like, dude, why are you roasting me? Every sentence has a roast in it, it seems like.
Right?
It's just
it really does.
Putting me straight down.
And we a lot of this conversation was lost to time. And I'll do my He says, "Unfortunately for you, you are maidenless." And then, what does he say? Over the hill to challenge Godric the Grafted. And he talks about the round table. He gives tons of plot.
Yeah.
For such an angry, angry man.
Oh, yeah.
But does he call you Lambkin at that point, or is that later?
He calls you several terms of endearment that even my own wife calling me would be like, I don't like this. But boy, do I want to figure out what your deal is.
Yeah. Because he talks with like terms of endearment, but he's also kind of roasting you. He's in all white, which we had talked about was kind of like the shorthand for a good guy, but it's very clear that he has some ill intent.
Oh yeah. Well, and little spoiler, not plot spoiler, but equipment spoiler. His weapon of choice.
Interesting, yeah.
Is exactly who he is as a character. It's a beautiful look.
Yeah.
Used to bludgeon the crap out of someone.
Quite deadly and dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people I feel that hate Elden Ring. I don't know if you've listened to any like of the rage against Elden Ring.
Oh no.
But a lot of people who are angry at it, it seems that they attacked Vare.
Oh.
At the beginning, they saw him as an enemy and aggroed him, so they got to see his weapon. And of course, Vare is like, I don't know, he's much higher level than you at the beginning of the game. So they just get whipped into the ground, and then they would complain, and then you run in the other direction, and then you see the first field boss, the Tree Sentinel.
Yes.
And did you fight the Tree Sentinel?
I tried.
I tried too. I didn't do well.
No. I was like, how many tutorial bosses are we getting in this game? Like, we already had a grafted scion. We know that the soldier of God, Rick.
Oh my gosh.
Nearly impossible fight. And then me going down to that hero's grave fighting the ulcerated tree spirit, and then suddenly you get the Tree Sentinel, and it's like, I think this game hates me. I think that's why they put Vare first, so that they got a voice to how they felt about every player.
That's true, yeah. But I didn't I found that it was pretty easy to just go around too.
Yeah, after a while I figured that
out. So Tree Sentinel, I really, really loved the look. And the Tree Sentinel was in the network test, which I watched a lot of the stuff on the network test. So I got to see the Tree Sentinel. I was very, very geeked out to fight him and just get bludgeoned into the ground.
Did they fight him in the network test? I didn't watch the whole thing because I was like, I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, I believe that the Tree Sentinel was in the network test. It was pretty much
right, but I'm saying, did whoever was running the test fight the Tree Sentinel in the test?
Oh yeah, people were beating up people. Oh my gosh, they were doing like challenge runs of the network test on YouTube. Goodness, it was wild. People were so rabid for this game.
Network test speed run.
Yeah. It was like I'm gonna go straight to. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So we talked to Vare. We fought the Tree Sentinel. We got our butts kicked, and then so the next place that you're kind of really supposed to go, where the grace leads you, is the Church of Ella.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and Santa.
Yes. Oh man. I love a merchant NPC. I do miss the really like creepy beef jerky zombie merchants of DS1. Yes. These didn't have that.
Buy something.
Yes, I miss them. These guys though were jamming. Like most of them are just playing their hearts out on whatever that giant instrument is.
Yeah, they have their little like lyre violin.
I want one so badly.
It's pretty cool.
I know, they're sweet. So the music is always real interesting around them because of that.
Mm-hmm.
They also just seem so cheery, you know.
They're happy people.
Yeah. Although I think we learn, spoilers, that they're not as happy as they seem.
Not as happy as they seem. But they do seem very kind of welcoming compared to what you've been through. Yeah. Compared to Vare, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It seems very nice.
And we get our first hint at smithing.
Oh yes, we do have an anvil.
Yep.
Which I don't know that I used.
I used it right away. Because
did you already have a smithing stone?
I think you get a smithing stone.
But don't you need 2 to upgrade your first one?
I think you get enough to do a first level upgrade.
Okay.
Because I feel like I upgraded stuff like right away. And then that was when I realized like, oh crap, scarcity.
Yeah, there were, at least when the game launched, there were no smithing stones to be found.
Oh, no.
I mean, that was one of my first, I'm not ashamed to say it, that was one of my first wiki searches. It was like, where do I get smithing stones? Because like, yeah, anyways. So yeah, I think you can only upgrade to level 3 there.
That's probably true.
Yeah. And you have to have a better blacksmith to get that. But we talked to Kale, Santa Claus. And then, yeah, what does he even tell you? He just tells
you some stuff. He tells you about, I want to say he tells you a little bit about going north, if I remember, but he also tells you about, like, if you've been to the woods, which we'll get to. If you've been to the woods and you come back, he'll tell you about some sounds that you heard while you were out there, and how to maybe talk to one of the most noble characters that you'll ever meet. He's the one who launches all that stuff.
Yeah, he does introduce you to him, but I think right away
he doesn't roast you, which is a pretty big thing.
Well, he does tell you that you better buy the crafting kit. I do remember that.
Yeah, but that's not a roast. That's a sales pitch.
Yeah, he says you're gonna.
He's not going like, dude, you probably never even talked to a girl before, have
trash.
You? Yeah.
In the network test, back to Vare just for a second, he used to say, "Feel free to go die in a ditch somewhere."
Ooh.
That was
That's
the line,
brutal.
But yeah, he doesn't say that anymore. But Kale says he recommends the crafting kit, but which I immediately went and farmed enough runes to buy, and then immediately regretted it because I never crafted the entire game.
I've not crafted anything.
No.
I should. I should craft something. Probably. I should learn.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I see people crafting are like sleep pots for a specific boss.
I've never even used sleep.
Sleep is cool.
There's so many things that I need to still do. And dude, I pick every berry, every flower.
Then you gotta start crafting.
Every time that there's a triangle button prompt, I click it. If I'm running, if I'm just wandering around, because I go, I might need this later, and I've never used them. I've sold a bunch.
Yeah.
I've sold so many Dew-Kissed Herba. Like,
I know all the greases. I'm like, yeah, Hugh loves grease. Any kind of grease, give it to that guy. Well, we get the crafting kit, but then immediately after that we go over, which I don't know. This was one of my favorite areas in the entire game, and it's so simple. But you go up the path from the church, and then there's a bunch of soldiers just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
And then to the left, there's a cave that they're kind of guarding. And then to the right, there's a bigger soldier encampment around some ruins.
The Gatefront Ruins.
Yeah, Gatefront Ruins. But I just love that little like encounter of like, you'll just see one soldier walking around like on his break, and you knock him off, and then you come around and there's...
his break. Let's remind everybody.
Yeah,
we're killing them on their break.
Well, he's clearly not like marching or doing anything, which is cool to see, because typically in FromSoftware games, all the enemies are just like rabid, and they immediately sense you if you're in their range, and then they go after you. And these guys don't typically see you unless you're like right up on them.
Plus, I mean, this is the first one of these games where we've had stealth.
True. We do have stealth. And, so you can sneak up on them.
Yeah.
And then you see, like, you go through the woods a little bit, and there's some, like, soldiers camped out at fires. And they're actually just sitting there chilling, which is kind of weird to see in a game like this.
Yeah.
And then, like, you get further and you see the soldiers en masse in their kind of, patrol area. But did you have fun with this little combat encounter? Did you go to the...
I go back all the time, actually, still.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just such a fun little place. It's so weirdly, like, low pressure, especially once you kind of figure out the dude with the horn and all that stuff. And I think this was my first, like, cave that I went into.
Okay, so we came out of the Church of Ella. We came up the hill. We took out some soldiers just on their smoke break, just having a good time, chatting it up, killed them.
Yep.
And then we went into the Groveside Cave.
Yes, indeed.
It's coming back to me. It's full of wolves,
It's
correct?
full of wolves. There's like one main chamber that I foolishly jumped into because I didn't realize that there were 2 types of wolves.
Yeah.
There's the wolves, and then there's the wolves.
Yeah, the big wolves and the little wolves.
Yes, and the big wolf is sitting right behind you when you jump down there.
Yeah.
So you land, your guy kind of takes his sweet time to stand up again, and that's when he swipes you and kills you.
Yeah.
So I had to strategize a little bit going through there, just like taking them out one by one, being stealthy. And
Isn't there a side passage?
there is a side passage that I should have taken.
Yes.
And there's one wolf in there that you can kind of get the drop on, so to speak. And then, yeah, you just keep going up that little right path, and you get to the Golden Fog.
Well, I think before that, there's some interesting storytelling, though, because there's like...
Oh, yeah.
There's like a bunch of dead corpses. Oh, that's redundant. Dead corpses.
I don't know. I've met some living corpses before.
Well, true. This is Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But there's some corpses of, I believe, Godric soldiers that were like in the camp, and they seem to be slaughtered by the wolves. But then later on, if I remember right, I didn't go through this area again for this, but I think there's some wolf corpses too. So it's like, it's not just the wolves that are killing things. And then we get to the boss fog, and we discover, I think this was my first like not non-tutorial boss.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, that I actually fought and grinded and beat.
Yeah.
Which is the Beastman of Farum Azula.
Yes, indeed. And I have all sorts of questions about what he's doing so far away.
Right?
Like, why did he pick that cave?
Where is Farum Azula?
Yeah, it's floating in the middle of nowhere.
We have Beastmen in these worlds? Yeah, from starting the game to being in Limgrave to just fighting guys with swords, and then you have this like
weird like werewolf dude.
Yeah, werewolf, but his head is like
radish. Is how I would describe him. Werewolf,
and he's got a sword.
Yep, a cool sword too.
Cool sword, yeah.
Yeah, he's got some moves. This was the first boss that I felt like I was good at this game when I fought it.
Yeah,
it was such a like, I was dodging and stuff, and I even got like I think one successful parry in.
Oh,
and I was like, "Am I good at this game?"
Because you fought an ulcerated tree spear for 3 hours before.
Well, right, but like it was an ugly fight, that one. You know, there was no style to it. It was like purely like just brute force my way through that boss fight. This one I was like doing well for myself, and it kept me on my toes. I was moving a lot. Yeah. Right?
He's got some delayed attacks for sure.
He does, yeah. And those come into play with a lot of enemies in this game. But,
indeed, lots of delayed attacks.
But this was the first one where I think it took me 2 times fighting him.
Dang.
And I was like, I think I'm a master at Elden Ring now. No, I was not. But it made me feel that, and that was special.
I didn't do so well against him because I didn't fight hardly any bosses.
Okay,
This was like one of my first, I think one of my first bosses, and I died quite a few times to him. Yeah. Because delayed attacks were very confusing. He broke right through your shield. But I did have a lot of fun fighting him because of the visual design, and also there's a lot of like crap in his arena, if I remember right.
Yep.
Which is interesting. All this storytelling right at the beginning, where it's like, these beastmen are like people because he like killed everybody and took all their stuff to like hang out in this room by himself. So they're kind of, there's all this stuff that had all these questions that, got me into the game. But anyways, anything else to say about was it the High Road Cave?
The Groveside Cave.
I keep calling it the High Road.
No, it's a straightforward cave. It's simple, but it's effective. It's a nice place to be.
Okay, so coming out of that cave that I can't say the name of, we had the little encampment. I believe it's the Gatefront Ruins is what it's around. So did you understand like the ruins dynamic? The dynamic?
Yeah, like the layout, are you talking, or just the way you fight your way through it?
No, like how. So this game screws me up with runes and ruins.
Oh, okay.
But like there are on your map, it'll say like ruins.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now I get what you mean.
I did not understand that every ruins had a underground chamber where I could go get an item.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that for so long in the game. I just thought it was landmark.
Yeah.
And I guess that's down to me not exploring super well. But some of them I found them, and I was like, oh cool, there's some items. But then I just kind of assumed that some of them were just landmarks. That was incorrect.
No, so the way I play is always walk around this place until you're certain that you will never have to come back here again. Because there's as much spite as Vare has for me, I play with spite towards the game itself.
Oh,
so
okay.
I go, I don't ever want to return here if I don't have to.
I don't have to.
And so, yeah, pretty quickly, like by the second ruin that I found, I was like, the ruins always have an underground. This is where the reward is.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it took me till like Liurnia to figure that out.
I like it, though. I think it's great.
Yeah.
This one had a lot of rewards, too, because it had the 2 carts that were parked. You know, the ones I'm talking about. Because I think one of them you get like a Morningstar mace or something, right?
That is a different one. This one has the... We're talking about the tribute carts.
Yeah.
That the trolls pull. There's one parked by the Gatefront Ruins.
There's 2 of them parked at the Gatefront.
2, yes.
Yep, one on either end.
One has the Lordsworn Great Sword?
Longsword, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the other one has in it. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what that one had, but I just remember like those rewards felt good.
Yeah.
Even though I couldn't use them right away. But they felt good. It was like, oh sweet, I'm getting some equipment. Nice.
Yeah, that was good. I think that's when we also encounter our first knight.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I was like, why do I have a shield that's so ineffective and he has a shield that's so effective?
It's because you're the player. That's why.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, them and the dude with the horn. I thought that was a fun dynamic too, because it made the stealth actually important. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, I gotta think about how I defeat these guys. If it's like, if I pick on the wrong one first, I get the whole camp called on me.
Yeah, and you can attack them to stop them from blowing the horn.
Yep.
And
it's always funny.
Yeah, they're like... Yeah, that's great. Love doing that. There's also a few dogs in there.
Yeah.
But there's also a Grace next to the gate front.
Yeah.
And the Grace is where we meet Melina again.
Yes, indeedy.
Yep, and we get the Honda.
Yes, indeed
Honda
we
Accord.
do.
Yeah, a Honda named Torrent. Which, I don't know. I thought... This is going a little further, but I thought Torrent was never really... the game doesn't put a lot of stock in Torrent.
No, it does not.
He's just a thing that helps you get around.
Yeah.
And Melina talks very highly of him.
Yeah.
You know, treat him with respect and stuff. And she also talks about our inability to... we don't have a maiden. Mm-hmm. She says she can play the maiden. And I guess I was always kind of confused about the role of a maiden. Because, like, the gameplay aspect is always that, like, from DS1, you know, you had, what was her name?
Oh.
She came from Astora, right? No? Am I wrong?
Is it the one that was locked underneath the...
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I can picture the guy that kills her. I can picture getting revenge.
Yeah, I remember that clearly.
I can picture kicking that guy off the ledge my next playthrough.
And I remember she'd always say, like, she didn't want to talk to me afterwards when I revived her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always assumed that, like, you know, the gameplay function of maidens in these games is to level you up. Mm-hmm. You know, we had the maiden in black in Demon Souls, which I never played. Did you play Demon Souls?
I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
I'm very excited for that too.
Nice. But then she kind of talks about she can play the maiden, and I think the plot implication of the maidens is that they tell the tarnished champions where to go. I
think it may be slightly deeper than that.
Okay.
And this is based on nothing. So, like, if you're listening to this and getting enraged by my ignorance on the subject, like, cope and seethe, I suppose. But sorry, but
yeah, take it away.
It seems like the fate of the maidens is a sacrificial one.
Oh,
weirdly,
okay.
Because you have her, which, you know, we could get into the spoilers or not, but you also have, like, the grape girl, you know?
Yes, the grape girl.
Yes,
Hayata.
the grape girl. And, like, I'm trying to remember if there's one more that's technically, like, a maiden figure. I think there is one more that I'm not thinking of. But I feel like all of them have kind of not fun fates. And it's integral to whatever that plot line is, that person, it's kind of like they're...
well, here's a question. Do maidens eventually become finger reader crones?
That is a good question.
We haven't talked about that. Have we met any finger reader crones yet?
I don't know that we have yet, because we haven't been to the round table hold.
We should probably wait to talk about that then.
But yeah, I kind of think of them like our role in the Dark Souls games as like kindling the flame. Yes. I feel like there's a parallel with them because it seems like they burn pretty easily. Spoilers.
Well, speaking of burns, yes, Melina, the first thing I notice when they show her is her hands, when she takes her hoods off, she has just burns all over her hands, which I thought was interesting, which will come into play later. But she doesn't tell us a lot. She just basically tells us that if we're cool with it, she'll come with us to the base of the Erd tree, and she gives us the spectral steed whistle.
Which, thank goodness, because I can't whistle.
Well, thank goodness, because if you had to do this game on foot, which I've seen people do, no torrent runs are a thing. But yeah, that's a lot of...
It's a lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking. Okay, so we have basically been told by Vare that we need to go over the hill to Stormvale. Melina's told us to go to the base of the Erd tree, which it seems like is pretty... Stormvale's on the way.
Yeah. Well, it always looks like the Erd tree's just right on the other side.
Yeah, it really does.
I hate that so much. So many times I was like, all right, we're just about the... Oh no.
Oh, no. Not again.
There's a whole other landscape, and it's all a different color.
So at this point, you were Wretch. You've been doing stuff. You said you went south first.
I did. I kind of wrapped around a little bit in a weird way. And yeah, I did go south, partially because I knew that the plot was taking me north, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything in case I wound up hating Limgrave and never wanted to come back.
There you go.
So in my completionist mindset, yes, I started to like explore a southern course.
Yes.
And wound up going down to the Weeping Peninsula and stuff. But I also checked out, like, on the way down, I went the lake route and the weird, like, waterway. And,
okay.
You know, found some interesting people and enemies and weird stuff by mistake.
I went northwest because I was a spoiler boy and I knew what awaited me and I just wanted to take a shot at it. But we'll go southeast first. Southeast from the what is it, Gateside Ruins?
Gateside Ruins, yeah.
Yes. So
which there was some stuff we missed anyway there. Right? There's a little bit of stuff. Because on the way south on that road, you run into some interesting things.
So which road is this? What
this is the road leading south from the Gatefront Ruins.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we find the bird's eye view telescope.
Yes, first one of those.
Makes no sense to me. I thought that those were going to be way more important than they wound up being.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun.
You find your first funeral procession looking thing.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, we talked a little bit about well, I don't know if it was recorded, but we talked a little bit about the big tribute carts. Yeah. Yep.
And fighting your way through those, which is super fun, I think, anyway.
Well, there's a new enemy there, too, the Kaiden Warriors.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, those guys are cool.
Oh, they're beautiful coats. I have so many of those.
Yeah. I like their set a lot, and I like that they're on horses.
Oh, yeah, horseback enemies, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that dynamic was so fun in this game to me.
Oh, the
fighting horseback enemies.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I fight them on horseback, sure, but fighting a guy on horseback on foot seems so much more exciting to me. They have so much more range and speed.
Yeah.
I love that.
So we talked about how we went, if you take the road around Agheel Lake, you can have a encounter with Yura that I did not have my first time. Yura, the Bloody Finger Hunter, who you said you almost killed him for his hat, right?
I did. It was such a sweet hat. And I play for fashion almost as much as I play for completionism.
Yes.
And so anytime I see like a cool hat or just sweet piece of armor, I'm always like, oh, I hope I get that later.
Yes. And he has such a great voice actor, too.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about that. We talked about how his voice actor sounds like he has whiskey for breakfast, glass for dinner. So he warns us of the dragon, kind of condescends to us, calls us a new tarnish, says that if we value our life, we should stay away from the lake because there's a dragon there. But I didn't get this encounter because I took the jumpy way down from the first step.
Yep.
I took directly south, jumped down with my horse, and then was immediately confronted with the dragon. And, had lots of fun fighting Agil.
Yeah.
But then we go up to the north side of the lake, and we have another encounter with Yura when we're invaded by the Bloody Finger Nereus.
Exciting fight.
Exciting
to know that was the confirmation that humanity didn't matter, which was the only thing that always stressed me out about the other games. It was like the only way to really take advantage of full online play is to utilize this finite
consumable
item. And it was just like so stressful to me. And to be invaded, and obviously it was a scripted invasion, but to be invaded while there was no weird status I had to be in was very like, oh, yes, we don't have that anymore. We've grown past it.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it was also very nice to know that at least like in this one, the NPCs actually do things.
Yeah, because
that was fun to see.
If you can survive long enough against Nereus with his blood blade, that'll make you bleed out if he hits you with a couple of range attacks. If you can survive long enough, then Yura comes to help you and has some great dialogue where he just gets really angry.
Yes, and mad taint.
Yes. He certainly has a mad taint. But then if you kill Nereus, you get his dagger.
Yep.
Which I actually did a playthrough where I did mostly with the Reduvia. It's really overpowered.
It is overpowered. It also reminds me of cold medicine just by name alone. And so I have a huge aversion to cold medicine. I hate the stuff. Yeah. And so I have this like real negative thing associated with that dagger, despite it being just a cool dagger.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I love the design of it. It says something like perpetually coated in blood.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
But then we talked a little bit about how there's so much finger symbolism, how it's very unnerving.
Yes.
Just finger injuries, bloody fingers.
And I didn't even put together until just now, really, that bloody finger Nereus would have been associated with Vare.
Oh, yeah.
Which would make his dagger companion.
Spoilers.
Piece. What was that? Oh, spoilers. Yeah, sorry, everybody. Spoilers. But that makes the design of that dagger less odd.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's all those little layers of things that
totally.
They never tell you any of this stuff outright.
It just clicks one day in your head and you're like,
it's usually when I'm like driving.
Whoa.
Shabriri's grapes are... I won't get into that spoiler.
But so we beat Nereus. We talked to Yura. He kind of explains. Does he explain the bloody fingers? I think he just kind of says that they're a thing.
Yeah, he just says they're a thing. He doesn't really get into why or who or what they are.
And he's very he when he shuts up, he shuts up.
Oh, he shuts up for good.
He's like, "Why are you talking to me?"
Yeah, exactly. I'm a sucker for what I refer to as the final message from an NPC, because I always try to exhaust all the dialogue.
Yep.
And if it's a real good final message, I'm like, oh yes, this is
As we travel the road through Limgrave down the east side of Agil Lake, we come across this little copse of trees, if you will, and we hear a voice saying, "Oi, Cully!"
Saying what now?
I think he says like, "I'm talking to you! Oi, you there, Cully!" There you go.
That's great.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Bach is one of my favorites.
Yeah, Bach's great.
But the first time I did not know what to do And I was way too, again, kid in a candy store at this point. So I was like, looked around a little bit. I'm like, must just be a disembodied voice. I'm going to get back to killing these sheep or doing whatever I was doing.
I'm too used to Elder Scrolls glitchiness. So the first time I was like, oh, it must just be like a broken part of the game. And then wandered off.
That's weird. So we hear him calling out to us, and it's kind of weird. Didn't catch it the first time, but I guess the idea is that you need to attack or roll through or jump on this specific tree, and it will turn into a little fuzzy woodland creature in a hat and a waistcoat named Bog.
Yeah.
So yeah, what does he say? Like, oh, now I remember. What do you say, wizard or somebody turned me into a tree or something.
I got better.
They turned me into a newt.
One of the rare actually delightful things in these games.
Yes.
Makes you forget that it's all dark and gloomy on the other side of it.
So who do we think turned him into a tree?
That is a good question. I kind of took it to be somehow that like one of the other demi-humans that he was living with. Because he's like living in a cave, right?
Yeah.
And he was living with a bunch of other demi-humans, and for whatever reason, they turned on him. I don't recall why.
It was because... I think it was just because he was like... because he was trying to wear clothes.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was just like... Because he was like a fashion... He wants to be a designer, right? He wants to be a seamstress. Because he says that they took everything he owns, and he doesn't have anything to thank you with, so he gives you a mushroom.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, because demi-humans, which don't make a ton of appearances yet, I'm not sure how much magic they're capable of.
Well, the demi-human queens, who we fight in other parts of the map, they do magic. So it could have been a demi-human queen, but there's no demi-human queen in the cave that Bach refers to.
Yeah.
Did you do this quest?
I did late in the game, and so I didn't get every point of the quest, I feel. I'm sure that there were some steps that skipped around. Because it seemed like I met him, and then after that, I like ran into him maybe at the Round Table Hold.
Does he show up at Round Table Hold?
I thought he did. That was my recollection of it anyway. And then I met him again, in Liurnia.
Okay. But you talked to him, and you exhausted his dialogue, and then he says that he's going to go back to the cave and get you something good.
I believe that I had already been to the Cave of Demi-Humans at the point that I finally...
Okay.
So that's why I say some of the people that are in Limgrave, like him, or I think Kenneth. Yeah. Like some of these people I ran into way later.
Oh, and you'd already solved all their problems.
Most of them. Kenneth's quest I had screwed up pretty severely, which we'll find out about later on, but yes. It was a little bit of a continuity issue for me.
Okay. But with Bach, if you talk to him and exhaust his dialogue and you haven't been to the cave yet, he'll tell you that he's going to go to the cave and get you something of value to thank you for untreeifying him. So then you go down to the coastal cave, and you get through the cave, and he's like laying there in a very like paint me like one of your French girls position.
I missed out on a lot, I guess.
Indeed you did. But not being painted, he's hurting, he's groaning, and he's saying that they don't go into the cave, or they'll rush in and beat you to a pulp like me. You missed a great scene. So anyways, if you indeed rush in and beat them to a pulp, it's two demi-human like leaders.
Okay. The winged ones?
No, not the winged ones. They're They're like the big dudes with like they're all hunched over and they have like a knife.
Oh,
in their
yeah,
hand.
yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And it's a kind of a cool boss fight. You did the boss fight, right?
I'm sure I did.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
But it's the one where you can kind of like use stealth because there's lots of bushes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I did do
Yeah.
that.
So
Yep.
you like drop down and yeah. So you take out the 2 demi-humans, leaders or chiefs. I think they're called.
Yep.
And you come back to Bach and you get the sewing needle and sewing kit from the demi-human chiefs. And if you give him the sewing kit, he gets very, very thankful to you and like says that he's indebted to you and that he can alter your garments for you because he wants to be a seamster just like me old mum.
Maybe, and this is crazy, but maybe his mom is a demi-human queen.
Perhaps.
Maybe. They seem to be a lot more capable of things than the regular demi-humans.
That's true.
Right? He's capable of actual, like, human speech.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's too out there, but maybe that's who his mom is.
I mean, I could see it. I kind of, I hope that like, or you hope that as a FromSoftware fan, you kind of want it to be like someone like named,
Oh, sure.
Because yeah, he does seem a lot more human than the other demi-humans. And
maybe that's the DLC we get. Box quest.
Yeah, who cares about the other demigods? We need the demi-human backstory.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so that's all for Bach's story in Limgrave, but I think it's a nice little self-contained thing. He's a very likable character.
Absolutely.
You don't want anything bad to happen to him.
No.
You want to avenge him when he gets beat up.
Absolutely.
If we go back up north to the Church of Ella and we return there, it's nighttime and we hear someone beckoning us. This way, tarnished.
Is this our best blue girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The arms. Oh, man. There's too many arms on some of these characters, dude. There's just too many for me. Like,
she only has 4.
That's
Not
still
that many.
it's still 2 more than I like.
Think of all the things you could do with 4 arms.
I don't want to. You can play bass and guitar at the same time,
There
though.
you go. There you go.
That'd actually be kind of sweet.
That'd be pretty cool.
I might be won over by that. Yeah, if Ronnie ever played bass and guitar.
Yeah, there's a sick fan art of her playing a double-necked.
Oh, wonderful!
Yes,
of course.
Double-necked guitar. But yeah, she calls herself Rena. She asks us if we were the tarnished. I think she says hurtling about upon a spectral steed. Which I like implies that there's gossip in the lands between that like we went past one of those nobles and he was like, oh, I never.
I think it implies that she's been watching me try to like clip my way up a mountainside too many times and fall to my death on my horse. That's the hurtling she's talking about.
Probably, yeah. But you can tell her yes or no. What did you tell her?
I think I told her yes.
Okay.
I don't know if it makes a difference. Does it make a difference?
No, you just get different dialogue.
Okay.
I did know one time, and she's like, basically, like, why are you lying to me? Don't lie to me. And I think you have to. I don't remember. You might have to tell her yes. Like it takes you back to the prompt.
Sure.
But then she gives you the spirit color bell and the what is it? The lone wolves ashes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. It's the wolves.
The wolves. Which are pretty cool.
And it makes sense, actually, interestingly enough. The wolves.
Yes, the wolves.
Yes.
He's very associated with the wolves.
Well, all of them are, because whatever the name of their shadows.
Yes.
Yes. So she's giving you a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Elevating you to the same place that they're in.
And she does have wolves. It's good. That was right on a pause.
Wonderful. That should be the theme song.
That will be the theme song. But anyway, so she says that she hates fingers because she says like she doesn't say. That's what I wrote in my notes. She says, "When will the tarnish tire of obeisance to the 2 fingers?" Which again, more finger imagery that I did not understand. But yeah, then she disappears, and we're kind of just left with that big question of who is this blue lady?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so from there, if we head, oh yeah, I was gonna ask, what's your opinion on spirit ashes as an addition to the Souls formula?
Once I figured out that I had them, which took a while, because I think I got the item and then I was like, I don't know what this is, and then I didn't know how to equip or use anything for a while. I didn't know that you have to set it up in, So once I figured out how to use them, I thought, well, this is actually tremendously fun.
Yeah.
I also have, in these games, I feel a very big sense of lonely fear a lot. And so a lot of the times whenever it's like a scary area or something like that, or like a boss that's freaking me out a little bit, I'll summon them for comfort. I'll summon a low level just to know that I got somebody that is rooting for me,
there you know? Yeah.
So that it definitely helped me on a weird emotional level. The wolves became my emotional support dogs.
Oh, okay. I like that. Do you think that it trivializes boss encounters? That's kind of the big debate that people say.
Oh, interesting. I don't think so. I think it can certainly take a build that is not optimized for that specific boss and make it possible.
Yeah.
I fought a late stage boss with a guy who only threw spears. And
so you just got some DPS out of it.
Yeah, well, I only threw spears. That was it. I had
your character.
Yeah, my character. I only I was using a specific Ash of War, and it was the Phantom Lance or something like that, whatever it's called. But yeah, I would only throw spears, and it was working great until this particular boss. And I didn't want to stop playing the way I was playing, and so I summoned some little spirit ashes with shields.
Yeah.
And I was the spear and they were the shields, and it was it made the fight a very fun dynamic.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that it changes the dynamics of fights.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can abuse them. I think people
you can abuse every aspect of that game.
Yeah, though. But I think people the debate that I've heard is that anything that messes with the AI's aggro trivializes the boss encounter because it's not directly upon you the whole time.
Sure.
But I think that's a little bit flawed because there are, especially in Elden Ring, there's a spell that you can do to distract. I've never used it.
Yeah.
Because I just use the spirit ashes because I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But with that debate, there are things to distract boss aggro.
Yeah, I think that's fine. That's being strategic.
Yeah.
It's I see a big criticism of fighting styles for duels and stuff where it's oh, you just ran away from me. And it's well, in actual fighting, I did fencing for a while.
Yeah.
And in actual fencing, distance is part of the fight.
Yeah.
Making sure
spacing.
that you're doing the footwork to maintain the spacing until the time to strike works, and it's a back and forth.
Yeah.
And so I think of them as just a strategy thing. I think it's, divide up the aggro. Do whatever you can to survive.
Well, and I kind of view it, too, as, I think it is very satisfying to 1v1 a boss. Mm-hmm. But I do think, with a new boss where I don't know the moveset, it's it's the difference between a few loading screens.
Yeah.
I don't like it when my spirit ash just destroys the boss. That's not fun. But if they give me some breathing room where I can heal and learn the move patterns a little bit better to feel like I actually know the boss instead of me getting two-shot.
Oh, yeah.
And then having to go through a loading screen to do that process, I think that's super beneficial.
I would just, like I said, I'd bring the dogs everywhere. They were my emotional support.
So we went southeast. We explored a few of the things going southeast around Aguil Lake, the dragon, Yura. But then we're going to head northwest and just check out some of the stuff there. So the first thing we encounter is the Stormgate, I believe, the little encounter, which I completely trivialized the first time with my horse.
Oh, yeah, I just ran past it.
Through.
Yeah.
I didn't even know a troll fell from the ceiling.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Until I went back with an overpowered weapon and was like, I'm going to do this encounter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I found out about the troll right away because I didn't want to miss anything in there. So I took the really slow way up, fighting everything I could. And, it was a fun fight. It's fighting a troll, which I love doing, while also dodging arrows, which I hate doing.
Yeah.
So it's a perfectly balanced and emotional state to be in.
But again, I think that kind of speaks to like, people say that these games need an easy mode, but I think there is an easy mode.
Yeah, just run.
Just run, especially with the horse now. It's
Absolutely,
like you can hit people and be 20 feet away in a second. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, we get through the storm gate. Notable change in weather.
Yeah.
Everything's really
Windy.
stormy and windy, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
Our first encounter with the apparating dogs.
Yeah.
You hear a howl on the wind and then dogs fall from the sky?
Yep.
Wolves?
Yep.
What's up with that?
I have a suspicion about that. And this is a partial spoiler, so partially I am sorry.
Okay.
But with the whole idea that this game kind of harps on with the like Elden lords and the those higher up characters and their shadows, I suspect that perhaps they were shadows for maybe Margit. Maybe it's all wolves, right? It's always dogs or like wolfy type people that get attached to these larger characters. So I have a suspicion that is like, maybe if it's not specifically the shadow, it's at least like something like
some
that.
Sort of connection.
Yeah.
Well, and so the whole reason why Stormvale is because of the Storm Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have? They never tell us specifically who the Storm Lord is.
I think it's Godric. Is that his name? Godfrey.
Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
Oh no, Arms Man.
Oh, Godric.
Yeah.
Well, because so here's the thing: the Storm Lord fought Godfrey. This is where my lorehound knowledge comes in. So the Storm Lord fought Godfrey, and originally was the Lord of Stormvale.
Yep.
And then when Godfrey conquered on behalf of America, he killed the Storm Lord, and then that became like golden lineage.
Yeah.
Property.
Is the Storm Lord then the big creepy face at the base of the?
Oh my gosh! I think that's Godwin, right?
Oh, there's too many similarly named things. Yeah, this is the George R. R. Martin problem, where everyone named
has
like
the same name.
Yeah.
So the common scuttlebutt is that the Storm Lord was a big bird, big hawk.
Like the Stormhawks.
Yep. And then the Stormhawks were his vassals, and then when the Golden Lineage came in, they chopped off their feet and put
the swords
on
them. Okay,
We're
gotcha.
Yeah,
that's a little ahead. But okay, yeah. I can see that.
So we see all the storming. We get to the Stormhill Shack where we meet an NPC named Rodrika. What did you think of young Rodrika?
Young Rodrika creeped me out more than Vare did. I was like, what are we talking about? And we maybe got it, but I have a problem with like lots of arms and things.
Yeah.
And the whole grafting thing that she seemed to be like
into.
Like fetishizing almost in a really uncomfortable way.
Yeah.
I was like, this is eerie as heck. And like just the way she framed all of it. I mean, it was very like, it drew me in as far as like, man, this is making me feel really uncomfortable. Like I was getting emotional feelings from the game. So that was a good, point to the game. But goodness gracious, I mean, it made me never want to fight another grafted scion ever again.
Well, you're in luck.
Yeah, I know.
But she also gives us the jellyfish.
Oh, yeah.
Which there's a whole story. I mean, the jellyfish has lore in this game.
Yes. So, every detail has so much stuff to it.
She seems very into the grafting thing, which is kind of weird because she says all these guys like came across the sea for me, right? So it's implying, I guess, that she's a tarnished.
She's wearing the Crimson Hood, is she not?
Yeah.
And the lore behind that hood is that it was a gift to nobles who had been exiled or banished.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I think that she got kicked out of where she was from.
Okay.
And it was like, my understanding is that it's a sign of shame.
Yeah.
But like also like trying to, at the same time, preserve the dignity of whoever it was bestowed upon. And it gives you extra health, which is kind of nice. So,
Well, there's a whole thing with like the other NPCs about like when you saw the Grace of Gold or whatever, like they get kicked out of their homeland or whatever.
Yeah.
So, which is, I guess, raises the question. She wants to be grafted, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so, is she just kind of like thinking like, oh well, we're descendants of Godfrey, so Godric is our ruler. So if he wants to graft me, I should be into that, or
it could be something like that. I mean, she seems very, and from spoiler later dialogue, she seems very like hopeless as far as what she's even good for.
Well, she definitely fulfills the crestfallen.
Yes.
There's always a crestfallen.
There's always a crestfallen. She seems hopeless, and it seems like this might be the only way that she's found where she could have any sort of significance at all.
Yeah.
Until maybe potentially some decisions that are made later.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she really like wanted it or if she was kind of like trying to sell herself on it, you know?
Okay, yeah.
She was speaking of it in a way that seemed very like not thrilled about it, but at the same time, like, but I have to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get that. She also gives us the Chrysalid's memento, right? Or no, there's some like letter. Yeah, I think it's called, because she says like once you're grafted, you become a chrysalid. And then she gives us an item to give, if you talk to her further, to give to people in Stormvale or something.
I might have missed that.
The quests are very forgiving in Elden Ring. Like if you miss things, you still get lots of the benefits of it. So she does give you something, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of characters that we love in Limgrave.
Oh my gosh. Is it time?
It might be time.
Yeah, I think we touched on him briefly earlier, but the Patchy one himself.
Oh yes,
and that's up in the northern area of Agil Lake.
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of the cave?
It's like the Murkwater Cave or something like that.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we enter the Murkwater Cave. This is where we had our invasion with Nereus, the Bloody Finger.
Yes.
And I think there's also like catacombs back there if you go further down the...
Yes, there are catacombs back there.
But if you go in the cave, what happens to you? What happens in the cave? Murkwater Cave.
You wander in. It's another kind of stealth opportunity, but it's a tricksy stealth opportunity, which should tell you all that you need about who's in there. Because you go in the bushes thinking this is gonna be like a normal cave. You see a little bandit guy standing in the light, and you sneak up to him. Well, you see one sitting there and then one pacing back and forth. Yeah. And you go, okay, I'm going to sneak up on the one pacing back and forth and start this with an advantage. And then the bells ring. Ding, 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 ding. You've tripped the trap, and all of the bandits come rushing in to kill you. But what they don't know is that you've played Dark Souls. You were expecting it, and then you just kill all of them.
Yeah, they're not very tough.
No, they're not very tough. They got a lot of really cool dirty armor, though, that takes for freaking ever to farm from them.
Yeah, it's one of those real low drop rate things.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. I fought them with whips, which was kind of fun.
Whips?
Whips. Yeah.
Nice.
It's fighting them with whips. And you make your way downtown, and you get into the cave a little further, and
Yep. There's a fog. Is there a fog wall?
No, not the first time.
No fog wall. Yeah, and then you...
There's no one in there.
No one in there? Yep. No boss.
Real enticing chest.
Nice little chest.
Which I did smack a few times just to be sure. No mimics in this game, and that makes it so much more freaky than having mimics in this game.
There's got to be a mimic in the DLC.
I know, that'd be so funny. But yeah, you smack the chest, you open it up, and what happens?
Bada bing, bada boom. You thought you'd just help yourself to a man's belongings, eh?
Oh man, every character.
And then he hops down from the cliff, and he says, "The gods demand recompense!" And then he comes at you with his spear, and Bald Patches starts poking you.
Yep.
You have a little boss fight with Patchy.
Oh, very little fight.
Very little fight. You get him down to about half health, and we get the what is the is it like the grovel gesture?
Yeah,
the cower in fear. Yeah. And he gives you that gesture and like stop. And then, you have the opportunity, as you always do, to either take him out or forgive him for attacking you and betraying you.
And as always,
we
you
gotta
forgive him.
We gotta forgive him. And he comes up. He always has a great excuse. Too.
Yes, he does.
Oh, you're tarnished like me. I took you for a demi-human or some such.
He's master of excuses.
Yeah, and then he gives you a compliment. But I can see you're a person of reason. And then he becomes a merchant.
Yep. Sells you some important things, semi-important things.
For sure.
Sells you a shackle.
Yes, the Margit shackle.
Yes, indeed.
Which I was like, what is Margit?
Yeah, exactly. Did they forget an R? Margaret?
Margaret?
Is there somebody named Margaret that I have to fight later?
Yeah. Yes.
More than likely.
So yeah, it sells that and some other cool stuff. I don't remember. A couple weapons, I think.
Yeah, if you come back to him, that chest is closed again.
Yeah.
And if you ask him what's in it, he's like, I don't know. What's in it? Something, maybe. You're going to have to find out. And like a fool, I opened the chest and was teleported. No mimics, but definitely something nefarious.
Yeah, transporter chest.
Yes, indeed.
Where does it take you?
It takes me south. It takes me
downtown.
Way downtown. Way downtown to where the bears live.
Downtown to Beartown.
Yes. One of the worst parts of the game.
Nice.
Just that stupid bear. All of them. All those stupid bears.
Well, just like all these other characters, this will not be the last we see of Patches.
No.
I think he talks about the Highwaymen. He says he's like grifting them. He's having them steal for him, and which is kind of fun. That's why I always feel bad when I come back and kill them all again.
I mean, I never feel bad about that. I kind of align with Patches at that point and go, well, I'll grift them too then. We'll take advantage of these guys. I think this is the only place that the bandits even show up, isn't it? The bandit highwaymen.
Very few. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only place I can recall seeing them because it's the only place you can go to get their stuff.
And they're pretty much just like the regular, like the smallest soldier enemy, basically.
Yeah.
Like the knife guys.
Just a lot dirtier.
Yeah. Another NPC we can meet in I guess it's not a cave, it's a ruins, but the Waypoint ruins, I believe. If we fight the Mad Pumpkinhead in the Waypoint ruins, which was a fun fight.
Yes.
I like the pumpkin heads. They're very cool design.
They are super cool design. Very sad.
Yeah.
It's just very like every time I see them I die a little inside. It's just a tormented giant thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Smacking his face into the ground. Imprisoned inside of it. I don't think it's a helmet. I think it's like a...
No, it's supposed to be like a blinder or something. Yeah.
To like dampen their senses so they don't lose their mind even more. It's just always sad. It's always sad to fight something that's lost its mind. You know?
I always think of... I'm not going to rap it, but I'll play it here. The Pumpkin Hill theme from Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Me and Knuckles down on Pumpkin Hill. You know, that's what I always think of when I see that.
That's fair. Okay. I like it.
So I'll put the little of that in there.
I always just picture Charlie Brown, the Great Pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
And that's sad too, so. Yeah.
We'll have to mash up those two tunes.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, if we beat the Pumpkinhead, I think this one has a mace, not a big stick.
Ooh, could be.
I think it's a mace.
I fought a lot of pumpkin heads. It's hard to remember.
Hard to remember. But yeah, fun fight. Kind of more, I think, more delayed attack training and also positioning because you can kind of walk around some of their strikes, which is, very Dark Souls 2.
Oh, yes, very much so.
But if we beat him, then we get access to Sorceress Selin.
She'd be selling you those spells.
Yeah. I really like Selin.
I like Selin too. I don't like Selin for the same reasons that I feel like a lot of people like Selin, which is the weird, oh, this is my FromSoft girlfriend in this game. No. No, I suspect that she is quite evil and it's always but she's fun.
Yes. I like how she kind of like, what does she say? Oh gosh. expect grievances. You know.
Yes.
And she kind of takes you on as her student. If your intelligence is high enough, it
Yep.
has to be above a certain point. But she takes you on as her student, and will teach you some spells. You can bring her spell books and stuff. What do you think of the giant stone crowns? Because this, I think, is the first time we see one of the giant Rhea Lucaria crowns.
Yeah. The design is striking, and so it's like it will stick with you. It's one of those things, again, where no matter what I do, there's certain fashions that just don't ever look right on me, and it makes me so sad.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into the lore of them, of the giant stone crowns.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it is just purely an aesthetic thing or if there's like an actual reason that they're these giant stone things to begin with. I know some of the item descriptions will say it's like carved in the image of some, sorcerer or mage in the past or something, but they're cool when they're on other people. And as soon as I put them on, I look just so dumb.
Yeah, they do look a little bit goofy. The headwear in this game is definitely the most avant-garde I think it's been. Just like every helmet seems to have kind of a impractical design.
Oh, yeah. They all have that one little thing that makes you go, but why that? Why? This was such a cool helmet.
Yeah.
And then you ruin it with that thing.
That weird thing.
Usually it's the necks of them. The giraffe necks of the helmets.
Yeah, I can't really get behind those either.
No.
So yeah, Sellen's cool. I forget all the things that she tells you. She starts a quest with kind of some fetch quest stuff. She talks about how she's kind of a reviled witch. She reminds me a lot of Beatrix, the sorceress, dark sorceress lady from Dark Souls 3.
Oh.
Not Beatrice at all. That was from Dark Souls 1. People are screaming.
Oh. I don't
I almost
remember
said
her name. This would be one of those great moments to edit out. Probably. What is that sorceress's name?
I almost said it. I'm just so mad. She say, good to know that a skinny little heretic can still turn some heads.
It's not Carla.
Carla!
Yes.
Okay. All this is staying in.
Oh, boy.
She reminds me a lot of Carla from Dark Souls 3.
Oh, yeah. What a good reference.
What a quick reference that we knew. But yeah, she kind of reminds me because she says for right off the bat, like, oh, you want to take lessons from me? Like, people don't like me. I'm just warning you. Which I always like is a nice FromSoft trope where someone tells you they're bad, but then it treats you very nicely.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of like, throws your thinking for a loop.
I mean, it's Cult Leader 101 right there.
Of course.
Yeah.
Expect grievances, but I'm going to be pretty nice to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But so then it's kind of like when she does her evil stuff later, she can kind of just be like, told you.
Yeah, you knew this when you signed up.
You knew this when you signed up. I told you.
Oh man, they're so good at making us accomplices to like just horrendous, inhumane acts.
War crimes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll get to that later. But yeah, she's really great. Another barefoot lady in these games.
Yeah, there are some grievances.
Yes.
I
have some grievances
yeah,
with this.
I don't know if I would trust Miyazaki just the same way I wouldn't trust like Quentin Tarantino. And in the same way that I would almost never trust a FromSoftware or Tarantino fan. Because they all seem to be into that, and I just it's a lot of fringy stuff that's not great.
No, definitely not into the FromSoft, the FootSoft culture.
Yeah, I'm really pleasantly surprised that there have been no lotion related items or quests in these games.
There was sticky white stuff in Demon's Souls. That was your magic grease.
Oh boy. Well, Demon Souls notwithstanding, I'm pleasantly surprised at the lack of it and everything after.
Last NPC that we haven't talked about much is War Master Bernal.
Mr. Zwei.
Yeah, he has the Zweihander. And I did not know where the heck to get that weapon for the longest time.
Yep, I didn't either.
He has it, but where do I get it?
Yeah.
And I don't think you can get it from killing him. I believe you just get his armor.
Yeah. Which that's okay, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But that was the little moment that gave me the inkling, like, oh, okay, good. This is gonna be. I'm gonna like this game.
Yeah.
Good. Zweihander's here.
Zweihander's here. Everything's fine.
I'm sure I can make a giant dad build.
But he doesn't tell you much at all.
No.
I mean, he just basically says that he was a warrior, and now he just kind of doesn't have an army, and he's just teaching people.
Ashes of War, basically.
Ashes of War.
Which I met him at a time where I didn't understand the Ashes of War thing, and so I did not purchase the most valuable Ash of War of all.
No skill?
No skill.
Yes.
So now I don't have it. He's gone.
Oh, no.
And I'm not going to be able to get it until New Game Plus, which makes me very, very sad, because there's some shields that I've wanted to use, but...
Yeah, no skill is nice. I don't think at this point I did not have the scythe yet. I believe I was going for my rapier fencer build, and so all of his things were kind of heavy weapon related, so I didn't use any of his stuff.
Yeah, I should have stinking. It was the one time that I didn't do my completionist logic of I should buy everything from this merchant right away, and
you suffered for it.
Yep, I'm still suffering. Still suffering.
Yeah, I like him. I like his quest. I like his armor, but I don't really have much to say about him now.
No, he's kind of a drab personality.
Yeah, he just seems like a big sword man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he gets a little more interesting. I don't know. I think he kind of falls under that like FromSoftware thing where even more I feel like he got shafted because they have like a cool distinct armor set and a look that's different from people in the series, and maybe they hint at where they're from, but then they just kind of are like, that's all you get. Yeah. It's kind of like Mira, like they had Lucatiel.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Her brother, and they had like such a distinct style and look.
But they also had distinct personalities. And that's, I think, there's so many great like voice actors and stuff involved in this. And I feel like, and this is nothing against that voice actor, but I feel like the direction that they went
Shade alert.
No. I respect all voice actors. They have a very hard job. But I feel like just maybe there wasn't as much focus on the writing for his dialogue, where there wasn't as much for whoever was doing the voice acting for him to really like. He was just like, he'd made very little impression aside from like, oh, good, Zweihander's in this game.
Well, and he has such a big role later in the game, or I guess not a big role, but they place him in such kind of an important position, almost like at your level by the end of the game. You know, he's supposed to be kind of a parallel to you, I believe. And it's just, they kind of gave him...
He just didn't have much to do cool things with. He wasn't making fun of my Maidenless state. He wasn't telling me I wasn't smart enough to be an apprentice.
And I don't know if you have looked at any of like the cut content stuff, but like they made a whole character for the Mimic tier and a whole quest about the Mimic tier.
Really?
Yeah, but like Bernal can't get a few like decent lines of dialogue, you know?
Man, I kind of hope some of that cut content stuff is the DLC. The only stuff I was aware of was the Scottish armor that got cut.
Scottish armor?
Yeah, there's a whole like Braveheart set almost.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like there's a big sleep quest that got cut.
Oh.
To me, I think this is probably not related to our topic at all, but
that's okay.
I think that's going to be in the DLC. Because they made a whole like bestiary of like all the enemies, and you can like put them to sleep and then get their like sleep dust or data, and you have like
There's gonna be Pokemon in this game?
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks pretty cool.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And I'm like, and they talk about this, like, data miners found this in the game, and they're like, oh, it didn't make the final cut. I'm like, I think they're probably just, backloading content.
Yeah, that could be.
And when it's the right time, they'll just unlock it, and it'll be like, oh yeah, you can play New Game Plus, but there's all these new quests at different points in the game, rather than just having like 3 big end game levels, like they kind of did with the other DLCs, or 2. Okay, cool. Anything to say about anything to say about NPCs?
I mean, yeah, lots of things to say about NPCs in general in this game, like, and all of their games. The combat's always fun. The level design is always fun. The enemies are always fun. The NPCs are what I keep coming back for most of the time. Just
Indeed.
The mystery of them, the, like, in the past, the crazy ways that you would have to, like, complete these quests with absolutely no help.
No instruction.
But, like, a lot of the NPC journeys are the things that stick with me in those games, more so than even the gameplay. And that's not a shot at the gameplay. Like, I love the gameplay. But, like, I will always love the Onion Knights. I will always love Havel references, even though you don't even get to really talk to him at all.
Yeah.
I'll always love the whiny guy at the start of DS1 at the first bonfire. Like, all that stuff I'm always going to like.
Yeah. I think it's all
It's
good.
going to stick with me. And I think a lot of the characters in this game have that same staying power where it's like, man, that was the game with Bach. That was one of the games with Patches. That was the game with Alexander. Like, that's probably the one even that'll stick with me the most. But, like, I love the NPCs in FromSoft. I love them to death. Almost every single time.
Almost. Who do you think was your favorite in this area?
In this area, we're talking just in Limgrave, right?
Yeah, just the ones we discussed for this.
I mean, it's Patches.
Patches?
It's 100% Patches. If we're talking ones that, like, are unique to this game.
Unique Elden Ring.
Yeah, unique Elden Ring. I'm going to go with Vare is, like, just so memorable.
Yeah.
and he's such a good first impression of, like, oh, what in the world is this guy up to? Like, it's so great. There's nobler NPCs for sure, but that's if it's not Patches, that's who's sticking with me too.
Yeah, I really like Vare. I really like Selin. I don't know. I kind of like Roderica because I thought it was a nice, different take on the crestfallen warrior, and I like that. I thought that was the moment too with Roderica where I really felt the George R.R. Martin influence a lot, because usually we have these kind of like very grand themes at work with the NPCs where they're very like distinct big brushstrokes where it's trying to convey some big idea of like hopelessness. Like the ones that stick out to me are like, Maiden Estrella, where it's like, kind of settling with hopelessness and losing sight of your surroundings, and I don't know, or like I don't know, I could name a bunch of other ones, but I'm not going to go on too long. But where did I lost my point? Pause.
Roderica.
So the NPCs of other games have been painted with these big broad brushstrokes, but I feel like with Roderica, I saw this kind of like George R. R. Martin influence, because I'm a big George R. R. Martin fan. I read all of his Song of Ice and Fire books, and I saw like these kind of like more human aspects. Like she has the whole survivor's guilt thing, and like lots of very like personal dialogues where it's less about like this cosmic horror or cosmic truth and more just about like, here's how this person is feeling like in this second, in this day, in this moment, rather than like, here's an emotion that like is etched into time.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. So towards the south of West Limgrave, there's an Everjail, and there's also an Everjail towards the north. The Everjail towards the south contains Bloodhound Knight Darrowil. A swell guy. Not according to Blythe. We haven't talked about him yet, but Blythe doesn't like him. How do you feel about Bloodhound Knight Darrowil?
I feel the same way about Darrowil that I feel about all of the Bloodhound Knights, which is, man, they look cool when they wear the armor, and I look so stupid when I wear it.
Yeah. Fighting them is kind of a trip, though, at least this first one, because I fought him solo the first time, because I didn't know that I could summon for it.
Yeah.
Because if you do a little bit of Blythe's quests, you can summon him. You get some cool dialogue and help you fight him. But I think I just fought him solo, and he was kind of... They have the Bloodhound step.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it's like Bloodhound step delayed attack, which I was not ready for.
Oh, yeah.
Bloodhound
step.
And then you get the Bloodhound's Fang from this dude. Use that weapon before?
I like to use... That's the claw, right?
Yes, it's the big curved
curved, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, yep, big curved greatsword. Sorry, I'm thinking about the Bloodhound Knight, like claws that the...
No, we get that a little later.
Ones, that's right. Yeah, the Bloodhound's Fang, I did actually use a whole lot. It was like, I think the first bleed weapon that I was like stats ready for when I got it. And I always like to try out everything whenever I get it. So if I get like something new and my stats are not where they should be for that yet, I will waste several levels leveling up for that thing. It was the first time that I was like already there. Yeah, it's a fun one. That the Ash of War on it is very entertaining to watch. Hard to time, but very entertaining to see.
Yeah. Have you did you figure out you could do the follow-up attack with if you push the right trigger?
Yes, I did.
Yes. It took me a while. When I first started using it, I didn't realize I could do that. And then I think I did it by accident. I was like, oh. And then, that carried me through the next section of the game.
Always a good thing whenever you get a new weapon in that game. Spend a good 20 minutes just testing out every possible combination of buttons you can hit. See if anything different happens.
It's good advice. Good advice from Drew. Anything else to say about the Bloodhound Knight?
I just really wish I looked good in Bloodhound Knight armor.
Maybe if you could get down on all fours.
I know. I wish that was possible, but that would maybe be a little too close to furrydom, and I don't like that.
Okay, so the other... Try that again. What am I trying to say? The other Everjail in West Limgrave contains the Crucible Knights. And I don't think he gets a name. He just says the Crucible Knight.
Yeah, just the Crucible Knight.
Yes. And how do you feel about fighting Crucible Knights?
So the Crucible Knight, there's another Crucible character as well with the big weird staff thing, right? Crucible Knight's the dude with the sword.
Yes, there's two variants. There's
two variants.
Sword, and then it's like Siluria's spear or something.
Yeah. The sword guys are like some of my favorite. They're probably like in my top 2 favorite types of enemies to fight.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. The other one we'll get to way later, but I would say even top 3 because I do have 3 distinct ones. That one, it's just like that was the first field boss, I guess I could say, where I like kind of nailed down their different attack patterns and how to avoid things and counter things. And it's such a satisfying victory because they're not an easy fight.
No.
You can't stagger them hardly at all. I mean, it's...
Poise boy.
Yeah. They're good.
Yeah.
They remind me of Havel a little bit.
Yeah, it's like Havel and a Black Knight mixed together.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool.
And that's the first one where I was like, am I good at this game? Like where I could just attack them no hit. Oh, yeah. I love that so much.
Oh, geez. I feel like I got through it like totally unearned. Like I just got through it with like all my flasks gone, all my FP gone. I'm just like, I'm like my 5th or 6th attempt. Like, how did I do that?
Hope there's not too many more of these.
Yeah, right? Hope this guy's not going to be sticking around. Hope I don't have to fight 2 at the same time ever.
Oh, yeah, that would suck.
Those are super fun to fight. I think you get an aspect of the Crucible.
Yeah.
What is it? Tail, I think?
It might be. I got all of them, and I spent about half of the game not realizing what all of those even were. I didn't know if it was spells or ashes of war or whatever, so I missed out on a lot of stuff the first half of that game.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't use that either. I kind of like, I don't know, I get very like stuck in my ways when I first play a game. Like I want to like see a lot of the game, so I find something that works, and I kind of just like, so I think Bloodhound Fang, the first time I got it, I just tossed it in my inventory and forgot I had it. Aww. And same thing with the aspect of the Crucible, because I had found the Winged Scythe. That was like really cool, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna make this work for most of the game.
I should use scythes more. That was my DS1. My DS1 build was the Grim Reaper, basically. Until I got to strength weapons, but Fire Scythe all the way.
Yeah.
Super fun. Haven't even tried them in Elden Ring, really. I have the winged one and the normal one, and I think I just got enamored with big hammers and hammered.
Hammered. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So have you tried the Grave Scythe? Have you gotten that one yet?
The Grave Scythe?
Yeah,
maybe I have not. Who drops that?
It's the Grave Warden guys.
Oh, I've fought all of the Grave Warden guys, so maybe I do have it and I just have not looked. I did also go through a selling spree when I was trying to level stuff up, and I may have sold some.
Uh-oh.
I definitely sold some unique items, which I'm very sad about. R.I.P. Vagabond set, but
oh no,
yeah, whoopsie. So it could have been a casualty of me not being careful.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably about all I have to say about the Crucible Knight.
Yeah,
he looks really cool.
They do look really cool. I love everything about them, except for that stupid horn on the shield. But
I love everything about them except for how far they can step forward and poke their swords.
Oh yeah, well
because
I mean that
you think you're almost like, I'm so far enough away, I can take a swig of Estus, and then he just takes a big step forward and pokes you right in the face.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so the last two bosses to talk about in West Limgrave that aren't NPCs are the Deathbird and the Knight's Cavalry and the Bell-Bearing Hunter. They're all I believe all the night field bosses that only appear at night.
It took me a little while to figure out that they were nighttime bosses. I played through this first time without using guides and happened upon the Knight's Cavalry on that bridge just because it was nighttime when I got there.
Yeah.
And so it didn't click in my mind. I never crossed that bridge during the day, and it didn't click in my mind that, there might be things that appear at night.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I actually had to go back to the area after a while. And let me tell you, I had a lot of fun with the nighttime bosses.
Yes.
The Deathbirds, not so much, but
yeah,
the Knight's Cavalry and the
Bell-Bearing Hunter.
Bell-Bearing Hunter. Ooh,
yeah.
Bell-Bearing Hunters.
Bell-Bearing Hunter. Yeah.
Bell-Bearing Hunters are incredible fights.
Yeah, I actually didn't fight him too much. I fought him once, and then so I figured out about the nighttime bosses when I fought the Knight's Cavalry, got killed, and then I came back to the bridge wanting a rematch, and it was just a Kaiden on a horse. And I was like, what? And then I kind of was like, well, maybe, that past time thing, because it is dark, So I kind of put it together a little bit there because I think I wanted to fight him again.
Sure.
I was like, what the heck? Where is he? But the Bell-Bearing Hunter, I only got him once. He's at the War Master's Shack, right?
He's at a bunch of them. But yes, yeah, at the War Master's Shack. I think that's right. It's been a little while since I've fought him.
Yeah, and you just get... He was one that I didn't care to... Because that was... I didn't get good at fighting that guy until I fought him later in the game, and I was able to grind him. So I got my butt kicked a few times by him, and I was like, I just am going to move on. But he drops a bell bearing for consumable items, right?
I think so. I don't think he's one of the crafting materials bell bearings yet.
Okay.
But yeah, he was how I learned to use the claws and be aggressive. That was my stay close, and then he can't hit me with the really long distance attacks because he's not going to use them.
The bell-bearing hunter drops the bone peddler's bell bearing.
Yes, for making arrows.
Yes, making
yes,
arrows.
Indeed.
The crucible knight drops the aspect of the crucible tail.
Mm-hmm.
The death bird drops the blue feathered branch sword.
Mm.
Did you use that at all?
No, the death, what would the category be? The death magic stuff? You know what I'm talking about? All the ghosts and weird things. Aesthetically, very, very cool. But I didn't really find a lot of effective use. Though, I guess my main build does use whatever what is it called? It's the one where you throw your spear.
Phantom Spear?
Is it Phantom Spear or is it Phantom like Lance or Phantom
something like that?
Phantom Javelin? I don't know, but that is the Ash of War that I do use the absolute most. So that one I found to be very, very effective. But I just always wanted to throw spears.
Yes.
But so I have not used too many of the like death spells or death weapons. Maybe I should bring back the Grim Reaper build.
Ooh, yeah. The death stuff kind of threw me for a loop too, because I wanted to use it, so I kind of dumped all my points into faith and thinking that like, okay, grave, faith, it kind of all went together in my head, and then I realized that was not the case. The faith was all for like the Golden Order stuff.
Yeah. Is the death stuff arcane or is it intelligence?
It's intelligence.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then at a certain point, it becomes like a split between intelligence and faith. But yeah, I didn't really figure that out.
Yeah,
that's my first playthrough.
I should maybe my next guide, because there's a lot of things that I did not utilize fully because I maybe just didn't get them, like didn't understand them. The sleep stuff I never really used. Ooh. I know you use the sleep stuff a lot.
Just for this last playthrough I've done, it's been really fun.
And I'll have to try it, but I never used sleep stuff, and I never really used the death stuff, aside from, of course, the Phantom. I keep wanting to say Lance, and I know that's not what it is. But that's what it is, though.
Totally. So that kind of wraps up the bosses. I don't know. I definitely, as you're the completionist, I tend to rush through to see as much content like a kid in a candy store. Mm-hmm. So I didn't take advantage of all these combat opportunities until later. And then on later playthroughs, because I would come back. In my first playthrough, I came back with, way over leveled, and they were kind of trivialized. Sure. So then on future playthroughs, I have played through this area more completely on a low level to kind of get the experience. And I'd say out of all the fights in this part of the game, probably like the Beastman was probably my favorite.
Beastman's fun.
If there were any others that really stuck out to me. I mean, obviously the dragon fight, I think I'm kind of soured on dragon fights now because you do so many of them through the game and they're very repetitive. Yes. The first time you did it, it was really sweet.
Oh, yeah, you feel like an absolute boss. It's pretty great. But I also didn't understand, like, early on, I didn't capture the idea of, I could fight on my horse. That changed a lot when I finally put together. Like, I can never outrun these attacks on foot. I can outrun them on my horse, though.
Yeah. You might iframe through them while you're getting on your horse, too.
Indeed.
That's something I didn't know until people on the internet told me I could do that. I still can't pull it off. But. Okay, well, there are other NPCs in this kind of general area, but I think we're going to save them for when we move towards the west of Limgrave, and we're going to go straight up the tunnel approach, the castle tunnel approach.
The stinking ballista.
Yes. I think that's the first ballista.
That's the first ballista, and it's
very far away.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Hate those things.
So it's a little combat encounter where there's kind of like a main path. Mm-hmm. There's some blockades and soldiers that you can see. Mm-hmm. There's a ballista at the top of the hill, and then as you start to fight your way up, then like soldiers come out of the woodwork. And start kind of ambushing you. Yep. Which I thought was really fun.
Or you can kind of sketchily go around. Yeah. Find a jellyfish graveyard thing, go up that way and make your way kind of from the back of them, which was what I eventually did.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I stealthed through the bushes and just took them out with backstabs. But then we get to the castle approach tunnel, and our first like big main story boss, the Fog Margit.
Yes,
the
indeed.
Fell Omen. All right, so we probably just heard Margit's boss music because he has great boss music.
Yeah, he does.
But we get a little cutscene too.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing my character in cutscenes.
I do too, because I usually look ridiculous. Yeah. And it takes me right out of it.
Yep.
But I was very thrilled that we got an actual cutscene and not just still frames, because that was my little worry about the opening cinematic.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to the opening cinematics in these games being cinematics. You know, Dark Souls 1 really spoiled me with the whole, like, war and all that stuff. Yeah. And so it was really nice to see, like, a cinematic again. And it's cool and different to see characters, because I didn't get to play Sekiro yet. It's cool to see the characters, like, with their mouths actually moving, talking to you.
Oh, wow, yeah, spoil us.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, yeah, Margit, just design-wise, super interesting to look at.
Yeah.
Really great, like, nasty, ratty robe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just, like, the everything about it, the, like, jagged horns that are kind of, like, going every which way.
Yep.
I mean, it really, like, it looks like a beast in suffering.
Yeah.
You know?
It looks kind of malformed.
Yeah.
We also kind of skimmed over the fact that he like actually turned one of the just normal like enemies, roving enemies, noble guy, or commoners. He turns one of the commoners is in the parapet, and then he turns into Margit. You ever notice that?
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
It's right at the beginning of the cinematic. From far away, you can see it's a commoner standing there, and then it's a big flash of golden light, and it becomes Margit.
Is it a commoner that turns into him, or is it the gatekeeper?
I think it's just, well, I mean, they're kind of the same model, but I think it's just a commoner.
Okay.
But yeah, because if later in the game we have that same thing happen. Again, did you have that encounter? Where you just meet a commoner and he turns into Margit?
No.
Oh, okay. Spoilers for later in the game.
Spoilers for me.
Yeah. But if you don't care to hear this part, skip ahead. But in what is it? The capital?
Yeah.
Lanedale, when you go through the gate in the north part going into Lanedale, where there's all those like big giant arrow bolts on the ground. There's a commoner just standing there, and if you come up to him, he turns into Margit. He starts talking to you, and you can fight him as a field boss.
Oh, I know what I'm doing. New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go that route. That's incredible, actually. Yeah. Do you get anything from it?
Yes, you get the Viridian Amber Medallion +1. It's a stamina.
Oh, dang. Medallion.
Yep.
Next time through. All right, back to
the non-spoilery things. So we see Margit jump down. He has a big stick. He says that we have a flame of ambition. He doesn't say playing as a lord. He just says flame of ambition. Mm-hmm. And then he fights us. Did you like what was your setup going into this fight? What was your loadout?
My loadout going into that fight was not an impressive one. I think I was kind of still wandering around half naked. I want to say that the weapon that I was using was at that point the Claymore, I think.
Okay.
I think it was either the Claymore or the Bastard Sword. But it was one of those.
One of the great swords.
And I think I was two-handing it.
Yeah.
At that point. And not too much else. I didn't know what to do with the weird greases.
Yeah.
I didn't have any real magic aspirations, so I wasn't like powering up. So it was just physical damage, big weapon, that sort of thing. And the Claymore has always been a favorite of mine. So I believe it was the Claymore at that point that I was using. Maybe.
Yeah, I think I had the rapier.
It might not have been, though. It might have been the Bastard Sword.
Okay.
At this point, I would have been down to down to the Weeping Peninsula. And I don't remember if you get the Claymore there or if you get it in Caelid. But I didn't go to Caelid first. So, but I know you get the Bastard Sword, and so I think I was fighting him with a Bastard Sword. And I did horribly.
Yeah, I really did terrible the first time fighting the boss. And I like summoned Rajier. I summoned some people from.
You already had Rajier.
Yeah, he summons on that fight.
Really?
I believe. I want to say so.
I mean, that would make sense for later, but yes.
Because he doesn't talk to you at all, I don't think.
Okay.
And then you can just summon him as this random.
Interesting.
dude.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was fighting with him, and then I also summoned. So this was like day one, so everybody kind of sucked. So I summoned people from the internet, and we were all just like fighting him with +3 physical only weapons and stuff, getting our butts kicked. Now I literally the other day, not to I guess humble brag, but on my level 1 character, first try.
There you go. I mean, once you learn the fight, it's
easy.
Yeah. But man, some of those attacks just waiting.
Yeah, the delay.
Just waiting for it, like, when do I dodge? And then you accidentally dodge too soon, and he still doesn't hit you. And then you dodge too soon again, and then you're like, and then he kills you right when you think, I'm going to be okay.
And I think it hammers home a couple lessons.
Literally.
Yeah. One is like delayed attacks.
Yep.
And then the other one is enemies always have way more reach than you think they do.
Oh, yeah.
Like he can hit you from across the
different attacks at different distances too. Like you do not get rewarded for staying close, but you don't get rewarded for keeping your distance either.
No, they'll throw knives at you and then do a jumping attack. I don't know. I feel like the jumping attacks are the easiest ones to punish.
Sure.
Once you learn the timings,
but
the first time you don't know
it,
so you're just dying.
Absolutely.
And there's also edges in the boss arena, which I thought was absolutely cruel.
Yeah, and they're edges that don't apply to your enemies. They just apply to you.
He'll jump back and hit an invisible wall.
Yeah.
And just coast down.
Yep.
And I try to dodge back, and I fall to my death.
Just fall right off. Yeah, absolutely. I think for that fight, it took me probably 2 days of just like coming back and trying it before I got it. And when I got it, I didn't feel like I deserved the win, but goodness was I happy about it. I was like, yes, finally.
So Margaret has 2 phases.
Mm-hmm.
The first phase I thought was pretty bad, but on not bad in a bad way, but it was just very difficult. But then coming in with the second phase where he pulls out the giant hammer, I was just thought the boss was impossible.
Yeah,
but. Again, there's a lot of windows to punish, especially compared to some of the later game bosses.
Right. My friend Jody and I were talking about bosses in that game, like early on when I was getting to them, and Jody was like, "Yeah, this is the litmus test to tell you if you're like skilled enough to go forward with that game." And I was like, "How many litmus tests? Goodness, can't speak. Are there? Because it feels like every time I encounter anything." This is the test to tell you if you're going to be able to make it through the game. How many? It can't be the whole game. Turns out it is.
It is the whole game. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember feeling like so relieved when I beat him, and then got to that like little bonfire, and then saw Stormveil for the first time. Like really?
Yeah.
And as like same time as the impression that it left on me of like, whoa, this is a crazy visual, I also stopped playing the game for like 3 days. Because I was so like, it was that relief, but it was also like, I don't know how much more of that I can do.
You need a little break.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely had a few moments like that in this game, because it's massive, and some of the difficulty spikes, if you have certain builds, I think they're just kind of brutal. But I mean, it's balanced out with like, you can come back at any time.
Absolutely. So, and you got spirit summons.
Because I don't think I beat Margit until maybe I beat him by the help of like summoning, but I didn't. After that, I went south.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, well, that was really, really hard. I need some better gear and some more levels. And so.
See, I was like, I'll find better gear after him.
Well,
he's got to be hiding some pretty sweet stuff back there.
Well, you had already been down to Weeping Peninsula at
That's
that point,
true.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, well, any final thoughts on Margit?
Final thoughts on Margit, another fantastic voice actor.
Yes.
Just
indeed.
like so I'm so used to the Elder Scrolls of like you get the same voice actor doing like 60 characters. And so it's really fun to see this many different speaking characters and all of them be so distinctly different. And I just thought that, the way they wrote out his dialogue, it was so like I don't know. It was so like comically Shakespearean to me.
Yeah.
But in an endearing kind of way where it's like, well, I don't think anyone else is like speaking like this man or whatever omen, right?
Well, and I think it also, I love the way, just to jump off that tangent, I love the way that the characters who are really, really old speak in more of an archaic way. Like Margit, we find out later, is really, really old, whereas like we're not.
Yeah.
You know, some of the other characters are younger in the world and they speak more colloquially.
Yeah. Colloquially.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're using a lot of street slang and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In it.
Maidenless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finna.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Finna sounds like one of Ronnie's, like, one of her aliases.
Yes.
I'm Finna, the witch.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, so Margit was good. We missed a few things, obviously, because we'll
get them.
We had a little bit of technical issues on this first run around, but we didn't forget about Bach and about Selin and about Bernal and Alexander and Patches. Yeah, a lot of NPCs and tunnels to talk about, but that was West Limgrave. Any final thoughts on the beginning of the game or this area in general?
I would say overall rating of that area out of 10, I'd give it a 7.5.
7.5.
7.5. I know a lot of people that were like, Limgrave was the best part of the whole game, and it only went south from there. Well, it doesn't only go south. Weeping Peninsula south. Most of the rest of it's north. But no, I thought it was a real strong place to begin. Yeah. It's got some fun things to go back to, which I hate going back places. Yeah. It's got some fun places to revisit. And I think it's like one of those great moments in a big game where you start out weak as heck and, you know, eventually you get to come back there and destroy everything easily.
For sure.
But it was challenging, a good challenging starting point, not so frustrating that it makes you want to stop playing forever. Yeah. So yeah. So how about you? What are your final thoughts on the area?
Well, I don't know. I have to think about my rating. I need to talk through it because I might have just let my excitement and exuberance on my first playthrough really taint my idea of
hopefully not a mad taint.
Yeah, put a mad taint in my idea of the first area. But I think it has a lot of foreshadowing, which I really appreciate, and I didn't appreciate the first time. So honestly, I would probably give it like a little higher than you. I'd probably say like an 8.5.
All right.
I really appreciated that it wasn't. It was kind of a subversion of our expectations, and that it wasn't a completely like ruined, desolate kingdom where everything has gone wrong. It was still alive. You still saw like with the sacrificial carts and stuff, bringing the tribute. Like there is still some sort of like ruling class or somebody, but they feel very far away from this kind of like rural area. Where everything it almost seems like nature's kind of taking over. We see all the ruins and stuff, and we see a lot of things scattered from like different places. Like we saw the Beast Man, and he like doesn't belong there. And some of the other bosses that we didn't even touch on, like the Crucible Knight, it's like they seem like they don't belong in this place. So I don't know. I think I would give it a little higher than 7.5 just because I think it really, to me, whet my appetite of like, okay, if this is, they're kind of playing the cards close to the vest, but it has a lot of those little things that just make me want to keep playing the game, as opposed to maybe some of the areas that, like we said, kind of contributed to the Elden fatigue.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Where it was like, it wasn't like a finally when I beat Margit. It was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I barely scratched the surface. I want to come back tomorrow and play this.
Sure.
I mean, you maybe kind of had a finally moment, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I tried to find every nook and cranny before moving on from the area, so yeah.
So yeah. A little bit more severe than that.
Final random question.
Yeah.
Did you ever hang out outside the Church of Ella at night?
And get attacked by the bell-bearing hunter?
No. The bell-bearing hunters...
That's north. What is around Church of Ella at night?
The screaming.
Oh.
Did you ever experience that?
I found screaming, but not there.
Do you know where it came from?
No.
You know all of the crosses?
Oh yeah, the corpse come alive, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
And then
that's
they
terrifying.
shriek all night.
Jeez. Yeah, I didn't find that at the Church of Ella.
Yeah. Talk about foreshadowing, like taking somewhere that's like, this is a nice place.
Yeah.
And then just at night ruining it.
Right.
I love it.
Well, cool. Anything to send us off with?
Play Elden Ring.
Played Elden Ring. It's a fun game.
It's a super fun game, yeah.
And we'll be back for more Limgrave discussion later.
Woo!
Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Maidenless podcast.
Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And leave us a review, even if you hated it.
Especially if you hated it. Next episode, we'll be covering East Limgrave and Stormvale Castle. There we go.
I loved that. Especially if you hated it.